Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Michigan Conservative Roundtable. Today, Mac, TJ, Kim is on another assignment, so we're going to talk about who we watch on YouTube, who YouTubers watch. So one of the stations or channels that I watch faithfully is the Officer Tatum on YouTube. It's a young man who's a former police officer in Arizona. He's straight to the point. His tagline is, and let's get into this, which I like. Every time he says it, I like it. I find him, he's very topical. He goes usually at least once or twice a day. So he's got a ton of videos, huge following on YouTube, lots of subscribers, lots of millions of views. I would recommend that you visit his page and give him a look.
And you know, for the obvious reasons, he can say things that would get us into trouble.
Yeah, he's got a perspective from the police officer's point of view, and not that he doesn't believe that the crime in these police, as some would say, these police murders. He doesn't believe that just the killing of a black man by a white man for any reason, including self-defense, is murder.
And I really liked his video, and I mentioned it in my solo. I really liked his frame-by-frame commentary of what went down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That just, and of course, you know, if I were to try and do something like that, there'd be accusations made toward me. So
Sure.
So he was able to successfully do something that perhaps we here couldn't.
Yeah.
My turn?
Yep, your turn.
Okay. For starters, I would like to say this, and I probably less so than Mac here. What I watch on YouTube, it's something I like to put on and just kind of sit back in the lazy boy chair with my keyboard, you know, on my lap. And I'll just watch these channels for the pure entertainment value. If there's news on any kind of current events, I almost prefer to go to the actual websites and the ones I trust. But right off the bat, you know, for those who aren't aware, I'm an animal lover, and so we have 2 cats at home. Unfortunately, no dogs, but Mac has a dog, which I love. So I like Takis Shelter. It's a guy from the island of Crete. And his name is, and I'm going to probably butcher it here, but Theoklitos Protakis.
Well, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, Prostakis. And I think that's where he gets Takis Shelter from, is the last 5 letters of his last name. And this guy has he's got like over 500 dogs on his property. And he's got them in all sorts of different pens because not all the dogs want to get along. He used to be a disc jockey, and he had such a love of animals and life itself that what he did was he quit his disc jockey job, and he sold his car to, I believe he said in one of his videos, he sold his car to start his venture, we'll call it, his efforts at rescuing. And at some point, someone donated a really nice SUV to him. Wow. People from all over the world go to this guy's place to adopt dogs. He had a video once on a couple from Finland who had adopted a dog, and then some years later, on vacation with the dog they adopted, came back to the Takis Shelter for like a reunion of sorts. And I thought that was really cool. And I'll tell you, not that I have a very long bucket list, but I got to tell you, I think it'd be really cool to go see this guy in his place before I pass. You know, Crete, it's the island off the shores of Greece. You know, so it's part of Greece actually. But boy, I'll tell you what,
does that make him a Cretan?
I guess he's a Cretan.
Okay.
But But in any event, I love just sitting back and watching him with all these dogs, man.
So do you see the dogs in the video?
Yeah.
Is there any evidence in the video that the white dogs are trying to dominate the black dogs or trying to kill them?
No. He does have to keep some dogs in separate pens.
Some dogs just want to fight.
Yeah, they just don't want. They all can't get along.
Some white dogs just want to fight, and some black dogs just want to fight. And so I imagine some of the black dogs and white dogs want to fight each other.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, the next one for me was to be a guy that goes by the name of ABL. And he is literally a regular guy. And he's very articulate in getting his points across. He talks topics of the day and politics. On occasion, it's mostly serious, but on occasion he'll put a little humor in there. He's quite entertaining, and he reminds me of a fellow that you and I used to work with, one of the bus drivers, in his appearance and in his speech pattern. I think you know who I mean. He's really good to watch. He's got some great points, and I enjoy his show, and I get a lot of information from it because he really does his homework. And his name is Anthony Brian Logan, so look him up.
All right, my turn. Warrior Poet Society. He's got a Facebook page. And by the way, almost all of these that we're mentioning probably do have a Facebook page of some sort to go with their YouTube channel. I know mine do. Warrior Poet Society. The founder is a guy by the name of John Lovell, Lovell. And right off the bat, Sebastian Gorka is a fan of this guy. And for that reason alone, that's good enough for me. You know, if Sebastian Gorka likes him, well then, hey, I'm going to like him too. This guy's got an interesting past. He prior service Army from the 2nd Ranger Battalion, which is cool. And I thought this was really interesting. It says he served as a Christian missionary in Central America. So you got a guy from the Ranger Battalion who was a missionary in Central America. And in his promo video, he says something very interesting. And he in his videos in general, he's trying to describe the approach of his YouTube channel here. He goes, in his videos, he wants to kind of express the need, the necessity of being a loving, faithful husband, father, just all around good citizen. And he goes, but then at the flip of a switch, you're that warrior, that person that can really do some damage if he had to. And I found that very interesting. I just found his approach very interesting.
I think that's a prudent, I don't want to say lifestyle choice to make, but it's prudent to be that way today, because at any given moment, one of these leftist loonies you might encounter may attack you.
And he lives just outside of Atlanta, so in one of his videos he had interesting concerns and takes on that, as far as here we go. But yeah, Warrior Poet Society, John Lovell.
My next one would be Dave Rubin. And Dave's got a really nice set, and he uses a multi-camera setup. Wish we could do that sometime, but it takes a lot of editing. And I'm sure Dave makes a lot of money, so he can hire people to do such things. We don't make any money. We don't ask for any money. A lot of these sites that I watch do ask for money, and they get it, I guess.
Well, Taka's Shelter, he basically says, hey, I need your help.
Well,
when you've got 500 dogs.
Well, you do have to realize that things cost money. We don't have anything fancy here, but your lighting costs money, your camera costs money, and so on and so forth. But back to Dave Rubin, he's an interviewer, so he asks questions, and he's got a lot of interesting people on his show. Dennis Prager, Candace Owens, Officer Tatum has been on his show. Brandon Tatum has been on his show. Just a ton of people. But he fashions himself a liberal, but he's moving more right with every discussion that he has with conservatives.
Yeah, I noticed that.
In fact, when he had Larry Elder on and he threw out the knee-jerk line about systemic racism, Larry said, let me stop you. What is it? What system is in place to oppress black people? Tell me what system it is. Rubin got blown away by that, and he was he didn't know one. Yet he was constantly saying systemic racism, systemic racism, systemic racism.
It seems to me I did see one of his videos where he said, you know, the more he had coherent exchanges with conservatives, and I mentioned this once, the power of persuasion. You know, people through persuasive speech was actually able to turn Rubin from the way I from the way I interpret it.
I think he still wants to call himself a liberal because he's liberal on some social issues. But I really enjoy his show. They're about an hour long, so it does take some time. A lot of times I'm just not watching, but I'm listening to it in the background as I do other things.
All right. My next one, I'm going to speak of with a disclaimer here. The YouTube channel is KITT Badger. KITT Badger. And the guy that runs it, his name is Loomis. And he has an interesting background. And he was in the Marine Corps, got out, went back into the military, into the Air Force, got out, then became a police officer. We'll say got out. And then he went overseas to the Mideast as a private security contractor. And where he got my attention was his video of pros and cons of security contracting. And as he was talking about doing private security overseas in war zones, I really thought, boy, you know what? I felt like I could relate to what he was saying. You know what? It's almost like he was speaking my language,
Sure.
and he gives the pros and cons, and I got to tell you, I felt he was pretty on the mark. He does reviews on firearms, accessories, that kind of stuff, and he does it without the glitz, and you know what? He does it without the testosterone. And which is what kind of caught me too. A lot of times he's just sitting there behind a campfire breaking twigs and throwing it in the fire while he's talking, and I found that comical.
So it's got a very casual atmosphere while it's informative.
Yeah. Here's where his latest video I took exception with. The video he did on language of freedom. I don't know if I could condone everything that he was advocating. And because of his latest video, I have to suspect he's some type of in a libertarian mindset, because it sure sounded like it to me, if I understand that belief properly. But you know what? If you want honest reviews without the glitz, you know, and he talks about the optics. He's talked about gloves before. He gets these $50 pair of gloves, and he goes, "Yeah, they worked, but they didn't work any better than these $20 pair of gloves."
Yeah.
And it was just, I use that as a simple example of his product reviews.
An example of that is I played softball for many years, and guys would go out and they'd spend $35 on a batting glove. I'd go and I would get a Titleist golf glove. Did the same thing, lasted great, and it cost me $7.
And that's kind of how we approach some of these products, So and again, I'm just watching him for the product reviews, and I find his laid back approach interesting for my tastes.
Okay, this is probably the person I've watched the longest and the most is Dennis Prager. I watch he does this thing where he has got fireside chats. He sits there in front of a fireplace in his wingback chair and smokes a cigar. And he's got his dog Otto with him, who's more popular. He says people will walk up to him in the street and say, "How's Otto?" Never asking how he is. But his shows are always informative. I listen to him on the radio whenever I get a chance. I watch his Prager University videos, which are 5-minute vignettes, if you will, that put things in very simple terms. And I know people personally who have had their views turned around by those videos. The one in particular was why we need the Electoral College. A guy said that I'm aware of said that, or that I know, said that he was against the Electoral College because it didn't seem democratic. Well, as you know, we are not a democracy, and that's why we don't vote that way. That's an excellent video if you get a chance to see it, and I'll see if I can put the link in the description for you. But I watched Dennis Prager. I recommend you do too. There's a whole lot to be learned by listening. This guy's a man of great wisdom. I'll leave it at that.
All right, my turn. On a completely unrelated topic, Kerry Holzman. And this guy's claim to fame is he was an IT expert, and he does YouTube tutorials on computers. And when we first got hit with this COVID-19 nonsense, I kind of stumbled onto the guy, and as I was watching his videos, I thought, man, I could do that, you know. And so after watching a few of Kerry Holzman's YouTube tutorial videos, you know, here I am, little old me, upgrading hard drives and juice and RAM, and I mean, of course, to the experienced computer geek, you know, that's easy. But someone at my age who 20 years ago knew nothing about computers, I got to tell you, I got an item on my bucket list. I'm going to follow his YouTube tutorial, and before I die, I'm going to build my own computer if I can scrape together enough money to do it. You know, if you knew me personally, this particular topic would seem so odd from my history, my past.
Sure.
He knows me when I knew this much about computers, and after watching Kerry Holzman, it's increased my confidence in a whole lot of things involving computers. Also, I gotta mention one of his videos. He released it. The release date on this video was May 1st of this year, May 1st. And the title of this video, and I found this very interesting. The title of the video is "You Might Be an Apple Person," as in Macs. Okay, and the video's
not related.
Yeah, and it talks about he compares the Mac to, and then he says the PC, because you know all sorts of manufacturers of PC, Toshiba, Dell, HP, whatever. Okay, but basically, and I'll say this also, his videos never really had much of a political theme to it, but this one, I felt almost like he was speaking in code. I even left a comment to see if he'd reply, but he did not. But he basically compared the Mac to the PC, and he goes, if you don't want to make any decisions, then Mac's the computer you need. If you think that one specific graphics card, or one specific type of hard drive, or one specific this or that computer component is for the entire world, then you're a Mac person. And I found it very interesting. He made it very clear that he goes, if you don't want to make any decisions or be responsible, then Mac's the computer you want. He goes, that's nothing against Mac. It's a fine computer. He goes, but when you buy a Mac, you're only going to get one type of this and one type of that and one type, and he just goes down the list of, you know, your lack of choices. And then he says, building your own PC. And he basically presents it as kind of an expression of yourself. You know, he almost made it sound like an artist in the computer world. You know, if you want to express yourself, then you build your PC the way you want to build your PC. And he goes, and that's what's going to make you different than a Mac person. And I found it very interesting. It came out just this past May, and it's not even 5 minutes long.
Kind of like the difference between conservatives and liberals, or leftists.
Yeah, he didn't say that, but boy, oh boy, I felt like there was a political undertone there.
Yep. I've gone through my top ones, so I'll go to my honorable mentions list. A young man I first watched on an interview with Glenn Beck. I wasn't really aware of him up to that point. Is a guy named Tim Pool. Tim Pool is a former anarchist. And when he got a good look at what Antifa is, he realized he had to part company with these people. Lickety split. And like Dave Rubin, while I don't think he would admit it, he is shifting right with every conversation he has. He's a logical, he's very articulate. He wears a ski cap all the time. I think that's part of his hipster look. But he's very good to listen to. Got a lot of interesting ideas. Admits when he agrees and doesn't. You know, he doesn't call. He's not a name caller. Another one would be, of course, we're going to mention Diamond and Silk, who are great. One of the things that gets lost on Diamond and Silk is actually the substance of what they're talking about. With all the all that nonsense going on, which was kind of funny, and I think it got people to watch them. But you really need to listen to what those ladies are talking about, because there's a lot of substance there. A Black Conservative Patriot is another guy I follow. Excellent show. And as a off politics, I love watching any video that's got restoration in it, where they take this microphone when it's been at the bottom of Lake Michigan for 45 years, and they take it out, and by the time they're done with it, it looks like this.
Yeah, I've seen those where they take it all apart, sand it down.
I'll confess, sometimes I fast forward through it and see how it looks at the end.
All right. Well, Matt caught me a little off guard with honorable mentions. One of my honorable mentions is Simon Whistler top tens. There's a little bit of
You got a love top 10 list of any sort.
yeah. There's a little bit of controversy with the guy. I guess he had to change his logo because something about Bitcoin or something. Someone through Bitcoin was trying to hacked into his. I don't know if it was a server or what, trying to get people to give money, thinking that they were giving it to Simon Whistler when in fact it was going to another party. And so he ran into that issue. Also, and I forgot to mention this, Kerry Holzman, my computer guy, he got hacked and got raided in one of his live YouTubes a little over a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, he was doing a live build of a computer, and off in the distance you can hear the sirens. And even during his live YouTube, he goes, "Oh, that's what's going on out there." And next thing you know, you can hear the police yelling, "Freeze! Get down on your knees!" And
did he comply or did he fight them?
You know what? He could have been more compliant with them. If you know what, in all honesty, I don't know. I would have been more. I would have complied more easily and.
Well,
readily
maybe the
than
fact that he knew he was going to have an audience prompted him to do what he shouldn't have.
Well, and you know, a lot of times during his live feeds, people are chatting, and someone even chatted to him during his live YouTube. "Hey, man, you're getting hacked into," and he knew something was up before the police got there. He just didn't realize. I guess the computer term is called swatted. He got swatted, and according to Kerry Holzman, it happens when, say, gamers, because you play these games online against each other, and if a guy's kind of kicking another guy's ass and yucking it up and really bragging about it, oh yeah, well, I'll show you, and he gets swatted, you know? And I guess, you know, that's what happened to him. But yeah, Simon Whistler, I'll tell you what, watch that guy just for his English accent. He's from England, he lives in Czechoslovakia now, but he actually did a video on the Second Amendment and gun ownership that got some pretty decent reviews and commentary from the gun community.
Wow.
I mean, because he talks about everything, okay? Part of the problem with Simon Whistler is he's accused of having a research staff, which I kind of suspected because the guy does so many videos that I'm thinking, heck, how does he find time to research all this stuff?
Well,
he's got to have a staff.
Well, here's the thing. So what?
Yeah. Well, here's what I thought. Even professional singers have their professional songwriters.
Right.
So, yeah. And like I said, Matt caught me a little off guard with his honorable mention, but that would be one of mine. Okay?
Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Well, we'll wrap it up with that because this is a long video already. So, as we like to say on the Michigan Conservative Roundtable, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.